There can be thought forms that are life-giving and life-supporting and healing, and there can be thought forms that are negative and damaging. This is a great question. Very intelligent woman asked this. She was really so spot on. So her thought forms are, I'm not good enough. I have to work harder at everywhere I work and be overly responsible for all my commitments, both at home and at work, and push myself through exhaustion to achieve more, to be seen and valued. As a result of this, I'm always anxious, worried, and overbooked. It's a very short question, but it's really thick with a lot of points that are worth addressing. So the first one, I'm not good enough. Not good enough for what is the question. In the end of all the things that we're not good enough for, like at this point, you guys, just as an example, in my mid 60s, I'm not probably good enough to become a world-class dancer. Like I've kind of given up on that thought. Like at one point there was a thought like, maybe I could really be a good, professional dancer, but no, not now. Right. So, I mean, there are just certain things. So not good enough. The I'm not good enough here, as she states it, is very abstract. And what it really is, am I good enough? Am I good enough to have a place in the heart of the divine? Am I good enough that God wants me? Right? That God wants me as much as I want God. Am I that good? Am I good enough for that? And the answer is, as human beings, we're really minuscule. We're really small in a big, 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 big universe. And yet, the value of the human soul is that it acts as the vehicle to bring the light of the divine into every corner of this creation, even the darkest corners. And that when we do that, we are exercising that aspect of ourself, which makes us worthy. So we can't necessarily, we're humans. So we can't necessarily be exercising that aspect of ourself 24/7. Sometimes you have to do other things. Like there was a moment when I was just putting on jewelry. It was a very simple act, but it wasn't maybe that, right? So they're things that we do all the time, just survival things, even survival things that may or may not be intentionally, consciously bringing the light of the divine into the material level of creation. However, the fact that it's the human potential to do that makes us all good enough. The more we exercise it, the more we experience ourselves as good enough. It becomes a habit. It's not a habit at the material level. It's a habit that's baked into the fabric of the physiology, especially on the platform of transcendental love. There's a habit of feeling oneself in the presence of the divine, even when you're doing something mundane, like brushing your teeth or searching for your car keys or whatever. This is that fundamental thought form, right? It's like a deep thought form, a very, very deep abstract thought form that acts as a foundation and a context for the types of thoughts that come up at the surface. So this is a download right now, is what does that feel like? What is that state when the heart feels itself to be established with the heart of the divine? So that even a breath or a word, I just scratched my leg. Any little thing, the littlest thing, the most mundane thing, becomes an act of divine adoration for the individual, for the purpose of illuminating this world with the uncreated light of God's grace and love, the uncreated light of divine mercy and compassion. It all goes around and around, and it repeats again and again and again, so that you get it, so that your body has time to integrate that experience, the essence of that placement of awareness at a very fundamental level. Humility is a byproduct. Humility is the byproduct. And the humility also fortifies or conditions the ground for the light of the divine to shine, shine, shine. Because if it shines too much on a foundation where there's the humility isn't there, then it the shining of the light of the divine tends to be taken as like one's individual glorification, right? But the glorification is born of the relationship. It's not that you don't also take credit. Of course, you were there. It was you. It was you who did it. So, of course, there's a degree of taking responsibility and ownership for that experience of being the radiant beacon or the vehicle for the light to shine through. But it's born of the relationship. And without the relationship, it doesn't happen. From the side of the divine, without the relationship, it can happen, right? From the side of the divine doesn't need, God doesn't need any of this. God doesn't need any of this to make God's light present and known and flowing. But the reality has been created in this form in order for that process to be appreciated in a very specific manner. And we are part of that. And that is a privilege and an honor. So humility is part of it. Okay, I have to work harder everywhere and be overly responsible in all my commitments home, push myself through exhaustion to achieve more, to be seen and valued. It doesn't matter if anybody sees you or values you. It doesn't matter. People out there, they are more concerned about themselves than they are about you, right? Us, me. Everybody's more concerned about themselves than they are about the other person. So even if somebody outside you sees you and values you, they will never see you as deeply and intimately as you are seen in your relationship with God. And they will never value you. They can't. Human beings can't. As individual humans, it's not possible to value you as a being the way God values you. It just isn't possible. And so what makes sense is to lean into the recognition and adoration of the divine. And then if somebody else thinks you're nice, oh, fine. I remember one time a lady called me at 2:00 in the morning, and it was at the holidays. This was a few years ago. And I gave her a lot. I gave her a lot. I talked to her all night. She was going to commit suicide. She called me. I talked to her for a long time. I set something up for her to help her. And when it was over, she said to me, Dorothy, if it hadn't been for you, I would have committed suicide. And now I feel whole and I'm going to be okay. And I said to her, you can't place that credit and responsibility on me because she did it. She did it. She did it. She did it. I just happened to be there at that moment that she was ready. She needed a catalyst, she needs somebody to kind of give her permission, give her permission to not commit suicide, basically, which I did. And I was happy to do that. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. Okay. Um, so if will other people ever see and value you? Probably not. I think that's the answer. Nobody else in the whole creation will ever see and value you the way you are seen and valued through the relationship with God. And once you have that, it kind of doesn't matter if other people see and value you at all. It doesn't matter. We just do what we do. We do what we know to be right. And sometimes, if you're a little late for a meeting, or you don't get your homework done on time, or you don't get it done exactly as some standard that you thought you needed to get it done, in the long course of things, it's probably not going to impact your life. It's not going to impact the way your life unfolds, because the way your life unfolds is being orchestrated through your relationship with the divine. And God knows. God knows how hard you work. I give you permission, and may that permission come in as a gift for everyone, like a download. We give ourselves permission to not kill ourselves for the sake of achieving material goals. It's all ephemeral anyway. You do stuff, then you don't know what happens after that, right? Stuff comes and goes. Where is it in the body? Is in the heart. That's where that purification is taking place. Are we able to do a healing for the underlying scaffolding? Yes, we've been touching on the scaffolding. I'm just returning to that first question up there. Yeah, we've been working on that scaffolding, right? The judgments and the impressions and the expectations, all that. Beautiful, beautiful. Someone saying, oh, look at this. This is somebody different. Okay. This is an anonymous attendee saying, could we have an example of a thought form like, I'm not lovable and I'm not good enough? Well, what about that? Interesting, right? We're having these experiences. We feel like they're very intimate and very personal. And like, I'm probably the only one who really pushes myself hard like this. And then we find, oh gosh, other people are too. Other people are too. It's just so, so common in our world. The material world drives that. It kind of pulls that out of us, doesn't it? Because everything is measured according to these metrics, these material metrics. And God doesn't use material metrics to measure the value of the human soul. And when we switch over to that, boy, life gets a lot better. I just would like to say, it gets a lot better.